What's up? In this video, I am going to break down the process of how to think about marketing, about sales, and how to withstand changes in competition, changes in the market, how to create an offer that is unique, marketing that is unique, how to train salespeople. I'm going to just give you this tool that you can use, which will change the way you run your business forever. And that is a big promise. And I know it sounds crazy. This is not an idea that I came up with. This is something that I originally learned from a guy named Alan Saltenik. Okay, so all credit goes to Alan for the idea. I'm going to show you where he left off and where I think it's the real power of it comes from. Okay, so this is, we're just going to start from the top. Okay, so the fundamental error that most people have, business owners, salespeople, is that they're looking for what to do and they're looking for scripts and what to think, but they're not learning how to think. So this is a training on how to think specifically for the growth of your business and to improve as a business owner, as a human being. Okay, so there are a few things here I'm going to write out. Okay. We have this one, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. Now, when you are creating a new offer or new marketing, or you're hiring salespeople, or you're trying to reverse engineer how you're different from other people, this is all about starting from the fundamentals. You want to go internal and then go external. Okay, so I'm going to go through this quickly. So number one is, before you even go into this list, you want to ask yourself, okay, like suppose I'm going to create a new offer right now, brand new business. You basically want to start off with the question, what results or problem am I helping, we can call it my ICP, to achieve or solve? All right, we start off basic. Who am I trying to work with? What problem am I trying to solve for them? Okay, those are two Venn diagrams. In other words, they overlap like this. This is you and your we can call this as them, the market, the ICP, your avatar, whatever you want to call it. And then we're talking about this little overlapping thing here, which is where your solution fits into their problem. Okay, cool. Now, in the middle is what we're talking about. So the very first thing that you want to be thinking of is the principles. What are all the principles which go into achieving this result or solving this problem? And a principle, we're talking first principles, are something that they're true regardless of who does it, right? It's like gravity. Gravity is a principle. Doesn't matter what you believe in, gravity is just always there. Okay, so within any type of problem, there are principles that go into solving it. Now, you would list these out, write them out. What are all the principles that go into helping someone get better at sales? What are all the principles that go into helping somebody find a girlfriend? What are all the principles that go into helping a local service business scale up and perform marketing on social media? Whatever you're trying to sell, what are all the principles? You want to list out as many as you can. They have to be true. It's like, what are the first principles? Okay. From there, the next piece of this is, now that you have this list of principles, you would go into what I would call your philosophy, which is it's like your way of seeing the world, your way of solving the problem, which is unique to you, which is based off of the principles. It's like all the principles weaved in, and this is what you operate. This is like your fundamental operating philosophy. Okay, for this problem. This is how you're different. This is why you're different. Okay, it's your way of thinking. And you might take this from your experience, from your what you're learning from other people, what has worked for you, what you just know to be true, like what you've seen. And you just want to piece all this together in a coherent way that makes sense. I'm going to give you examples of how I've used this to sell things that I have no like experience with that, or maybe not that much experience. I'm like, well, I need to know this before I can sell this type of service. I have a few examples, but next piece here is that out of your philosophy, okay, we're going from internal to external. Out of your philosophy is going to come your process. Your process is like, okay, if someone's going to go from here to here, they're going to solve this problem or hit this goal, this is what needs to happen in this order, right? With me so far? Awesome. From your process, you would create a program or product or an offer. All right. I'm going and packaging up this process and I'm selling it to people, right? Now we're starting to go and like, okay, cool. We're presenting this to people. Now, the next piece of this is going to be your messaging. In other words, how are you bridging the gap between your product and the market? How, like, you take the messaging from the product and you tie it into what they want or the problems that they have. Okay, so this is like, it's all kind of like piecing together now. And then we have marketing, okay, which is the distribution of the messaging across different channels. It could be posting content, it could be running ads, it could be you talking to people, it could be a million things. It's distribution of a message. Okay. And then finally, you have your sales process. It's like the very last piece. Well, like, what do I say? What do I say to sell this? You know, now that you are aware of this, you can probably see what most people do wrong. Most people, they start from the outside in. Well, how do I get more sales? Or how do I get more leads? Or like, what marketing channel should I use? Or what's the latest marketing thing that I could use? Or like, what's the sales script that's going to help me sell at 50%? Or like, well, who has the best product or program? Now, this is basically where Alan ends and where I've taken this a bit further. And so essentially what Alan says is that, which is totally true, by the way, right? If we go from internal, this divide is the external world here and the internal, okay? He says all processes have a lifespan, which is true. All products and programs, offers have a lifespan. Messaging has a lifespan. Marketing channels come and go, right? Sales processes, they start working and then they become less effective as more people are exposed to them. In other words, there is a lifespan to everything external. Now, the problem that most people have, especially coaches, is that they focus so hard on selling their process that eventually when it stops working, they're like, oh shit, like I mean, this is really like, they're focused, like these two things sooner or later stop working. It's inevitable. It's entropy. And the reason why is because if we look at, if we have this like bullseye, okay. Let me do one more. 1 second. There's this idea that comes from David Hawkins, which is the difference, which is very important. Okay, so in this middle of the circle is going to be what we would call content. And then this circle represents the field. Okay, I'll explain all this in a second. And then this square represents context. This is going to go deep, and I'm going to try to explain this for the first time. But essentially, this is it. So from the reality perspective, like the context is just consciousness. It's the fundamental laws of reality. Everything exists within it. The field, okay, is everything outside of this process. Now, say with me, like content is like what's going on right now. It's the things that we can observe. It's okay. I'm putting this ad out there. This, like, we can call it like this variable into the field, and people are responding to it right now, and they're buying, and it's working. Now, the reason why all these things sooner or later die is because the field changes. Now, the field, we can describe that as many things. We can call that culture. Okay. Culture changes sooner or later. We can call that competition. More people keep doing the same thing as you, right? They say marketers ruin everything, and it's true. Culture, competition, the economy. Economy is a big one. In other words, things outside of your control will affect the content, which is these things right here. Well, I guess technically all of them, but the external is influenced by things outside of our control. This is where things get interesting, though. So if you know how to think and you've based your entire business model on things that are these, really, not even the philosophy, but the principles. If you're based everything off of truth, okay, this is true no matter what. That's what makes it a principle. These two things live on. They're eternal. And if you know how to think about these things, you can adapt. You can adapt new processes. You can create new products. You can create new messaging. You can create new marketing, sales processes, all this stuff. You can change this. If you have new salespeople, you can teach them your principles and philosophy, or just your philosophy. And they can basically integrate your philosophy with their model of the world and their life story. And then they can sell like you, right? This is very interesting, right? Because most business owners are teaching salespeople how to think. Sorry, what to say, not how to think, which is a fundamental problem in my eyes. Because in general, the business owner, they always close higher than the sales rep that they hire. That's why they're always looking for unicorns or A players. The best sales rep usually closes 50% as good as the offer owner, even if the offer owner is not that good at sales. That's like most cases. And it's because of this idea. They're teaching them what to say, not how to think, because all of your conviction comes from your principles and your philosophy. Okay? Your conviction comes from that. And you cannot give somebody a script or an ad and then you transfer your conviction into them, right? So the salespeople are at the mercy of their own conviction, which if you're just giving them the script and kind of giving them training wheels, they'll never, ever perform like you. They just don't have the same level of understanding. Okay. This is why kind of sales training needs to change in general, but this is not really a sales training per se. Now, next thing is, let me just, my mouse is dying. This is super annoying. Next thing here is just understanding that you must continue to evolve. And then being aware of the field that you're playing in and how things are changing and staying ahead of what works. You have lots of people try to copy you. If you're a business owner, if you're doing marketing, happens all the time. And if you know how to think about this framework here that I just laid out, you can always stay ahead of them. You can always innovate. You can always adapt. You'll never have to worry about anything out there, right? Like the culture, the competition, the economy, politics, AI. I mean, unless something catastrophic happens, like a nuclear war, fuck, dude, you still probably figure it out anyway if you survive, because you probably, if you're really good, you can just understand the principle of creating value for people. Okay, now I want to go into the second part of this training, which is proof and examples of how I've used this in the past. Okay, so a few things. Number one, if you're an offer owner trying to create an offer, I learned this from Sam Ovens. He says that all this is markets. Okay. So markets go through oscillations. I'm going to explain what this graph means. If this line here represents what is true. And essentially, Sam Ovens said the further away markets get from the truth, the bigger the opportunity is to bring it back to the truth. In other words, what actually works to solve their problems. All right. So I've gone and created offers like this. I was like, rather than when I first started my old agency, I was thinking, okay, well, who do I want to help? Okay, I want to work with financial advisors. I just picked them kind of arbitrarily. It's like, well, I don't know anything about financial advisors. So I do know a lot about marketing and sales, but I need to talk to these guys and research and see what problems they have, what are they trying to do, what have they done, do some research. So I was DMing them and getting them on conversations and just talking to them. What about this? What kind of problems do you have for this? Da da da. And then when I formulated what I believed to be an offer, which would solve their problem based off of these things, and then I went through this process. Like, okay, well, I believe the way that most financial advisors are marketing is backwards. It's outdated. Times have changed, and you guys haven't. You guys are like the dinosaurs are still operating based off of like 20, 30 years ago. I mean, look around you. Jesus Christ. And this was 10 years ago that we were like making this agency, by the way. And so I came up with a process, which is based off what I felt to be working, what I've seen working in other industries, which I knew would work for financial advisors. They just have to like understand it. And then I created the messaging from that. I wrote a VSL, right? Took the messaging, wrote a VSL after a lot of conversations with these people. My buddy ran ads to it. People watched our VSL, and we had a fucking avalanche of leads because they were like, wow, something about the messaging resonated with them, right? Because these people are they know they have the problem, and they're like, when you hit them, when your messaging connects with them, they're like, oh, holy shit, this is what I was looking for. This is interesting. Let me listen to this guy. And guess what? You get a lot of leads, and it's then you close deals and you make money. And that's for my own offer. I've done that a few times in the past. I did one for a CSM. I was like, hey, I think it would be a good idea for salespeople that are burnt out that they could become CSMs and they can get a lot of the same benefits without the pressure. And that worked right away as well. I've never wrote a VSL, by the way, that didn't work right away because I followed this. Fun fact. So next thing, by the way, whenever I did write a VSL, actually that didn't work because I didn't follow this. I was just trying to copy and model other people, which is what most people do. Do not do that. Now, as a salesperson, I've also done this. So the best example that I can give you is a dating offer that I sold. This girl named Elsa Morick was running it. She's since shut down her dating business because she wanted to do low ticket, which is whatever. But when I started working with her, she was like, listen, Ben, I don't really have a script or a pitch or anything. I trust you. Figure it out. And I'm like, okay. So I was aware of this at the time. I was like, you know what? I need to ask Elsa about her philosophy. I was like, hey, so what do you think about this? What are most guys making the mistake of? What actually works? Why does that work? Tell me more. And I got really, really curious to understand her mental model, right? Her philosophy, her mental models, the principles that she's acting on, how she came up with that. Why does that work? What are the mistakes most people are making, right? So like, I want to know the truth. I also want to know the falsity that the prospects are making right now, so that now, once I'm very clear on her philosophy, now I can, again, integrate that into my understanding of that. I can relate to these people. I can just tell from the sales call where they're fucking up, and I can just show them that, and I can come up with creative ways without using a script to link their problems and what they're doing wrong with our solution. And then it really worked. When I was the only people, I think the only objection I ever got, this guy was like, you know what, can I do this in 30 days? And I was like, yeah, man, I mean, what's going to change in 30 days? And he goes, nothing. You guys take Visa. I mean, it was the most easy thing to sell ever because I did it the right way. And I've also had instances where, I had a guy I'll tell you the example why this, what not to do if you're hiring a closer. I was working with this guy named Matt Brockman who sells a high ticket trumpet program. Okay. And he was a stickler about the sales script. He's like, you have to say every question on this script and you have to pitch exactly like I do. So he was going from this way out. Elsa was letting me go from the inside out. She didn't care. She's just like, I trust you. You know, she's coming from a higher vibration. Matt was like, no, you have to do everything to the letter. And I'm like, I'm not a trumpet player. So I just was like, okay, cool. I'll try. And I was like, I closed like one deal out of 20. I'm like, I just don't think this is a good offer. But the truth is, if I would have like actually done this work with him, would have crushed it. Right. He just had no interest in really sharing this with me. And I mean, maybe it was also my fault for not digging my heels in. If I'm being really honest, I think I found out about this after I worked with Matt. But anyway, the case is still the same. And so those are a few examples of how I've used this to make money, how I think about this, the philosophy that I teach now, which is I learned from my mentor, put a bit of my own little spin on it. It's like, I'm not teaching people a sales process. When I coach people in sales, I'm teaching them this. I'm teaching them this. I'm teaching them how to think. And then once they're clear on these things, then we can talk about the process. But many times they can fucking come up with a process on their own. You know, the real money is up here always. You learn how to think, you can become rich. The only way you won't become rich is if you just don't do it, if you're lazy. But don't be lazy. So, all right. With that said, I hope this was a valuable video for you. I hope you got a lot out of it. Let me know any takeaways you have in the comments. Subscribe, all that shit. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.